friends, it's Amy at Doki Doki Forest. Welcome. I'm so glad you are here. Now today I'm going to be participating in a mini challenge, a mini junk journal challenge called Season of the Witch, and this is hosted by Priscilla over at Release the Craftin'. And the hashtag for this is hashtag rtcseason. It's 7 days of witchy, spooky fun, and I will put the prompts up now for you. Please be sure to head over to Priscilla's channel to see what she's up to, use the hashtag to see what everyone else is up to, and feel free to jump in and participate. Now, over the summer, I had gone to a yard sale and picked up a box of like 10,000 envelopes. Not that many really, but it was a bunch. And I didn't really know what to do with them. They've just been kind of sitting in a box. Now, Priscilla, I saw, is taking envelopes and she's going to create a little mini journal with them. So for each day of this challenge, she is decorating front and back of an envelope, and then she's going to turn it into a book. So I thought, well, I'll do the same thing along with her. I will also decorate one for each prompt and then attempt to turn it into a journal. I don't know how it's going to work out, but I'm excited to see. So let's get right into it. Okay, so our first prompt is full moon. So I was very inspired by this because we just had the full moon and we went outside. By we, I mean my family and I. We went outside and looked at the moon and it was so beautiful, and the owls were like going crazy out there. They were all hooting. We have a lot of barred owls all around us in the woods, and they were super excited about the full moon. So I decided, let's paint a full moon. So I'm using some acrylic for the background, and then I'll also be using some inks. So I'm using some inks here on the moon. I just realized now it sort of looks like a face if you turn your head sideways a little bit. It's like 2 eyes, a nose, and a mouth, and maybe some freckles. That was not intentional, though. So yeah, I have these iridescent inks, and I was putting down some blue. Then I had some silver, but I liked kind of smudging the blue as I went to just get it to blend a little more. And then I had white iridescent. So I put that on top. And even though you can't really see it, when it dries and you see it in person and you kind of move it back and forth, it does have a really nice shimmer. And then I took my yellow iridescent ink and I'm splattering it. Then I took the white as well and I'm splattering that. And those are all the little stars up in the sky all around the moon. Then I figured, what the heck? Let's splatter it on the moon too, just for some texture. Now the full moon may get you thinking about all kinds of different things and different events or creatures, and for me it's of course about creatures, and I was thinking about a werewolf. So here we have a lovely werewolf dressed up and ready to go out and I don't know what, maybe go running under the moon, go on an adventure. I don't know what this werewolf is up to, but she is transformed and enjoying it. And she has some sort of comfortable clothing on because, when you transform from a human to a wolf or a wolf to a human, you have to make sure you have like some stretchy clothes on, maybe some athleisure wear or something like that. It's like when the Hulk transforms and somehow he always has shorts on, and they must be like really spandex because they just are able to stretch. So yeah, these werewolves, they have their own line of clothing here that is just made to fit and not like squeeze the fur or be too tight when you transform. And I like when werewolves are like full wolf. I don't love when a werewolf is still mostly human, but then like with some fur, sort of like Teen Wolf. I mean, I loved Teen Wolf with Michael J. Fox back in the day, But that's really not my favorite kind of werewolf. There used to be this show on in the 80s called Werewolf, and they would transform fully into like these big, awesome looking werewolves. Or maybe they're not awesome looking, but they were when I watched the show. And that's exactly what I like. Full wolf. And I thought it would be nice to give her some purple and blue tones to her fur. She's got these colors of night. And then for her dress sweatshirt thing, I don't know what I was drawing there. I mixed together my darkest brown and my darkest blue on my palette in order to come up with this black color. But it does have more depth than just a straight black. You kind of get these hints of other colors in it. So when I remember to, I do like to mix my own black, sort of like an indigo black kind of tone. It feels really good to be painting and creating these characters and stuff. Like I've been doing a lot of glue booking lately, which I absolutely love. Love, love, love. And I've been working in my journal, my daily journaling, which is my Hobonichi, which I love as well. And I do some sketching and a little light painting in there. But I loved diving in and just making journal pages that have like some of my own kind of creations on there again. I had like a drought where I wasn't doing anything like this for months. So that's what I mean when I say like it feels good to be getting back to it. Because for a while there, I just felt like I didn't have any ideas, or I just didn't have like the energy to sit down and create like this. So it feels really good to be getting back into this. And thank you again, Priscilla, for these prompts because they're really inspiring. And I am super excited to be participating in this mini journal challenge. And I actually saw that Priscilla has a goblin, I can't remember if it's goblin mode or goblin core, but she had another mini journal challenge. I totally want to do that too. And of course we are going to glue this wolf right in front of the full moon. She's striking a pose. I almost glued her on the other side, but then I thought, no, we're going to have her right against the moon. So then I had to come up with something for the other side. And I was thinking, well, we could have a moon goddess. We could have Selene, the moon goddess. So I was giving her sort of like a traditional sort of clothing here, like you would see this sort of like wrapped empire waist sort of clothing. And she has a big crescent moon. I know that's not a full moon, but don't worry, we'll get some other full moons in here. I just wanted to have all kinds of representation of the moon and celebrating the moon and moon energy. And I have her holding a bunny rabbit because in Japan, they don't see a man in the moon when they look up. They see a rabbit on the moon. And the rabbit is, I believe, pounding mochi, pounding rice into mochi. So we're combining all kinds of different ideas about the moon and different sorts of mythology about the moon. And I am pretending this bunny is so fluffy that you can't even see her hands. So she's holding this bunny and he's just super, super fluffy. And of course I'm waiting before I paint. So I'm using my ink liner to line everything. And then I give it some time because you don't want that to smudge. It is waterproof, but you do have to give it some time to set. And she has blue skin. I really like to make my characters have just non-traditional colored skin a lot of the time. And plus, she's the goddess of the moon, so I wanted her to be like the moon, have some moon colors and be shimmery. And when I'm painting here, I'm using this little Sakura Koi. It's like a field sketch sort of a watercolor set. And I really love it just because it's small and it's very easy to take everywhere. I can have it here on my desk. I can pop it in a little bag and take it outside to use. I really love it and I'm really happy with the color choice too. Now I should have spritzed all these colors before I started painting because they're very dry, you know, as watercolor gets. But I'm just doing one color at a time, just wetting one color at a time. But normally I would sit down and the first thing I would do is spritz the whole thing, wake up all those colors with some water. Let me know if you were able to go out and see the full moon. Actually, when I was driving this morning, I could still see the moon in the sky, this big, beautiful moon. I love when that happens, when you can see the moon in the morning or some part of the day. You know, you're not really expecting it or looking for it, and you just look up and there it is. So for the background for our goddess, I wanted it to be glowing. So we have the moonlight glowing. So I have just some yellow watercolor, and then I took this silver, and I'm just flicking it on, just trying to get some variation in the color and maybe hint at some moon magic happening here. I realized I forgot to add in some of the shadowing, so it's never too late. Just go ahead and pop it right in there. Now, most of that yellow background you won't really see anyway because the goddess is going to take up most of the space on there. So we'll just finish up our little details on this character. And then I just put some of that Aleene's original tacky glue on the back, stick it on the page, and then put something heavy on. Now here is some Tulip Glow fabric paint, glow in the dark, and this is pretty old. I've had this for about, I don't know, it's definitely been over a decade, maybe a decade at this point. And I thought the color went with the moon, and I thought, if this glows, it would look really cool. It can look like moonlight, moonbeams, you know, or magic or something. So that was an experiment. And then I wanted to make something to go inside the envelope. So while that tulip paint was drying, I decided to make a little card that I could tuck in there. So now I'm making another moon, but this is the harvest moon. So it's nice and orange. And I'm using my watercolors, and then I had a little extra on my brush, so I just decided to make a little aura on there, and then just kept kind of going with that. And I wasn't sure how much I was going to wind up with, but I just kept going. And then this is a souffle gel pen, so it's supposed to dry kind of a little bit 3D. And I like to do squiggly lines when I am outlining things like this. I just like things that are wonky, not precise, just really playing with the stuff. And then we had to give that moon a little face, of course. And then once that face was dry, I flipped it over, and now I'm painting the back. And I don't really have to do too much detail here. I just wanted it to be a moon. And I'm going to write a little note on here. I wanted to remember the details for this year, so I just wrote September 2024. September's full moon, or harvest moon, was on the 17th at 10:34 p.m. It was also a supermoon. And then I wrote a fun fact at the bottom. The Chinese moon name for September is the chrysanthemum moon. Now I'm going in, just adding some little dots, just doing some mark making, and these are the gel souffle pens as well. So I used black, and then I'm coming in with orange and just adding a little something else. Just some dots here and there. I'm not doing as many as I did with the black. And then I just did a little squiggly. And then I realized, do I need to do something on this part of the envelope? I wasn't 100% sure because when we turn it into a book, I'm not sure what's going to happen. So I just figured, well, I'll just do something in here. And if it gets covered, that's okay. But I just didn't want to have a white background if it was going to show. So I thought, what else can I do that has to do with moons? And I thought of Sailor Moon, but I was like, no. So I went with Moonflower. So this is a moonflower blooming in the moonlight, or, you know, I guess it's not really the moonlight, because if it was the moonlight, the tones would be all like blues and stuff, but I just went with greens. So I don't know. And we are done. Day 1, full moon. I have a full envelope ready to go. First part of the book. I'm happy with how it came out, but what I'm even more happy with is just the fact that I'm sitting down and taking this time and creating this, and it's all thanks to this challenge, and it's thanks to Priscilla and these inspiring prompts, and I just really appreciate that because it felt really good to sit down at the desk and do some painting. And you can really see the shine here now that it's dry, and as I move it around, you can see that shine. I did add some white gel pen on the back of this card as well, just to highlight some of the words and to do some squigglies around the edge. And oh, I was going to tell you that I did try to charge up that puffy paint in the sun, and it did not wind up glowing, so I think it's probably expired. But it was worth a shot. Thank you so much for joining me here today. Thank you to Priscilla for coming up with this challenge. Let me know if you are participating too. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I will see you again soon.